Welcome to a special episode of Talking Ball with Pat Leonard. Adam Schefter, ESPN senior NFL insider, returns for his second appearance on Talking Ball with Pat Leonard on the Believe Network and on the PL on NFL YouTube channel. This is brought to you by MyBookie Sportsbook. Go to mybookie.ag, use the promo code PATSPICKS, and you'll get a 50% match on your first deposit of $50 or more, all the way up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip. If you followed my advice at the Super Bowl, you would have won Eagles money line, the over, as well as Saquon Barkley hitting all the way up to 25 carries. We're making you money at MyBookie. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. Also brought to you by Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink, natural extract, loaded with anti-inflammatory, immune-boosting antioxidants, and heart-healthy compounds. You can easily pour it into any of your favorite drinks. I put this natural supplement into my coffee every morning and immediately feel the difference. I personally feel a post-workout-like energy boost with Boom. Chaga also has the ability to lower cholesterol, reduce inflammation, and improve immune and heart health with its beta-glucans and antioxidants. Go to boomchaga.com today and start feeling the difference. Use the code TalkingBall25 or access it through the QR code on your screen, and you'll get 25% off your first order on the subscribe and save option. That's boomchaga.com. Also brought to you here at Talking Ball with Pat Leonard by Estate 98 Coffee, an all-natural specialty coffee that you can make quickly on the go. Hot or cold takes you 10 seconds. It's also a great mixer for espresso martinis. Estate98.com/Talking Ball for a special 80% off discount on your first order. That's an exclusive offer right there here at Talking Ball with Pat Leonard. And last but not least, Sal Loretta for Men clothing in Midland Park, New Jersey, here in Bergen County. Luxury menswear and tailoring, the finest clothing at Sal Loretta in Midland Park. Can't wait for this interview. Let's get it going. On to talk to Adam Schefter, ESPN senior NFL insider. All right, we are back with a very special guest, Adam Schefter, ESPN senior NFL insider, noted Michigan man. The last time we talked on this podcast a year ago, Adam, your team was national champions. This year, I get to flex a little bit that my Irish got it done. How you feeling about it all?
Well, you're breaking news to me. Did the Irish get it done?
Got it done to get to the national title game. You're right.
Okay. I thought this is something that I didn't know about. That pulled through.
You know,
you saw a result that I didn't.
That's actually a sad commentary that I am flexing on a runner-up finish. Is it not? It really is.
Congratulations on your participation trophy, Pat.
Well, were you rooting for Notre Dame at least against Ohio State as a Michigan man?
I wasn't rooting for anybody. I'm not like that. You know, we get to that spot. I know my friend Rich Eisen was rooting for Notre Dame, and he feels like the one time in his life that he finally rooted for Notre Dame, the school failed him, but I'm not like that.
All right. Looking forward to talking football with you today. The preeminent insider in the NFL. Information is key. And before we get into NFL, I just wanted to ask you about the importance of raising awareness for early screening for type 1 diabetes, a cause I know that is close to your heart.
Well, I appreciate you asking, Pat. And you mentioned information being key, and information is knowledge, and knowledge is power. And that's why I partner with Sanofi to raise awareness around the importance of screening for type 1 diabetes. As some people know, maybe you know, maybe you don't know, my wife is type 1 diabetic. I watch what she goes through on a daily basis, the battles that she has to face all the time. And type 1 diabetes can't be prevented, but it can be detected early. And screening gives people the valuable time that they need to prepare. So that's why we're here today, to talk to your doctor about T1D and to tell them that you want to be screened. Go to screen4type1.com. That's screen4type1.com for more information. I appreciate you asking me about that. Thank you, Pat.
No doubt. Thank you for that information. Everybody go to that website, get screened early. All right, Adam, we're going to call this episode the Stars Are Out episode, because there are a lot of big names potentially either available or on their way out of some key spots around the NFL. And you having all the information on these topics consistently, wanted to ask you about these big names, these stars that could be making big moves this offseason. And we start with Myles.
Hold on. Let's preface this before we start and say that we're taping this Thursday, and who knows what's going to change. You know, no, I'm just saying, like, the league itself, like, all of a sudden, you know, we do this, and I don't know when you're going to post it, and then the aggregate sites take the comments, and all of a sudden I'm saying one thing, and the next day maybe something else. I just want to be very clear. We're taping this Thursday midday, right? Like, there we go.
No, that's, hey, you really do have to be hyper aware of that, and people who are consuming your words and information need to be hyper aware of that, because like you said, it shape shifts minute to minute. So just so everybody's clear, it is Thursday, February 13th, 2025, and it is 2:04 p.m.
Let the record show, right? Let the record show.
Let the record show. Yes, exactly. All right. So as of this moment,
yes,
Myles Garrett, 4-time All-Pro, Defensive Player of the Year, 6-time Pro Bowler, only 29 years old, once out of Cleveland, or said that he wants to go somewhere to win, would welcome a trade. Adam, how likely is it that the Browns would let him out? They've already said they don't intend to do that. And if he does get traded, who do you view as the leading contenders in the NFL to make that happen?
Well, if he were to get traded, Pat, there are 31 other teams that should be interested. 31. So let's be very clear about that. And I don't think that they want to or are open to right now on Thursday, February 13th, open to trading him. Now, that could change in a month or 2 months or 3 months, but they have been very clear about the fact that they don't want to trade him. And it's a great topic for everybody to talk about. Should we trade for Myles Garrett? Should my team trade for Myles Garrett? What should they give up? I just don't think we're dealing in reality right now, today. Now, that doesn't mean it won't change. And I think that what's going to happen if and when they do go out and get a quarterback, what's going to happen if and when they do make him an offer to become the highest paid non-quarterback in history, what's going to happen when all these things change in some time? Is he still going to want to trade? He very well might. He very well might. And I guess my question would be, how far is he prepared to push that? Khalil Mack, when he was traded away from the Raiders, which he wanted to do, was not traded until September 1st of that season. September 1st. So to me, it wouldn't shock me if we were on a similar timeline trajectory here to where Myles Garrett might want to be traded, but the team doesn't want to trade him. I don't think he's getting started. I don't think he's getting traded before the start of the new league year. I'd be surprised if he got traded before the draft. But look, anything could change. It's early, and there's going to be a lot that is said and done between now and then.
So you said this is not living in reality at the moment, but would you agree with me that if he were eventually made available, that Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles would be right at the front of the line on, let's say, on line 1 of the 31 calls? Like, when I'm standing there after the Super Bowl in the Philadelphia Eagles locker room, the feeling I'm getting from Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, the players, they were excited about winning. They also had this feeling of like, let's go win it again next year. You know, that was kind of the vibe they were giving off. And he has already swung like the AJ Brown type trade. Would you throw them into the mix, heavily into the mix, if it came to pass?
You know, what's funny? I'm on the field after the game around the Eagles, and I got stopped by about 3 different Eagles fans on the field. And this is moments after the Eagles have won the Super Bowl. And they said, are we getting Myles Garrett? And I'm like, you just won the Super Bowl. Like, are we getting Myles Garrett? What? Like, come on. Again, let's live in a world of reality. I would say that Howie Roseman and Andrew Berry, the Browns general manager, are very good friends. And I'm sure that Andrew, if he ever got to that point, would absolutely be willing to talk to Howie. Do I see the Eagles giving up what it's going to take to go get Myles Garrett and to sign him to? I don't. Today, I don't see that. And I don't know how people get the Eagles on Myles Garrett. Like, how do we come to the Eagles? Why are these fans asking me? Why are you asking me about Myles Garrett? Where's this coming from? What am I missing?
Well, first of all, I would say from Cleveland's standpoint, the cap hit they take if they do trade him is so prohibitive.
$36 million right now.
So all the machinations they would have to go through just to do it, I start there as far as it's probably more difficult than people realize right off the bat. I think the reason I go to the Eagles is because of Roseman's track record and his ability to figure problems like that out, frankly. Like, I think that he's the best general manager in the league, one of the best GMs in the league. I throw Les Snead up there as well as a couple other guys. And I just feel like even if it's not the optimal fit, like you look at Washington, for example, has more cap space. You know, that feels like a team that's ascending.
That makes more sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But by the way, we can make an argument for a bunch of teams and it doesn't matter who we think it makes sense with. Cleveland has
Right.
to be willing to find a way to take that $36 million cap hit when they're already trying to find a quarterback solution and be willing to trade him and get the compensation back that they want so that they're trading away the best defensive player in the game and a future Hall of Famer. Again, I started by saying we're not living in a world of reality, but if we want to talk about it, we can.
It's a fascinating topic because even with some big name quarterbacks available, who we'll get to next, it's rare that a non-QB's potential availability could really rattle and shake the league as much as a player like Garrett could if he moved. So fascinating.
But the key words there are potential availability, not
right.
Readily available, potential availability, potential. Let me know when that potential is realized.
Adam recentering me and recentering the conversation. That's why you're the best. All right. So moving on to the QBs, Aaron Rodgers, the Jets making it official. They have told him they are moving on with new coach Aaron Glenn taking over and setting a new foundation. 4-time MVP, Super Bowl champion, 41 years old, but played some good football down the stretch of last season. Adam, with Aaron Rodgers eventually being released and having his pick of where he would continue playing, if he continued playing, where do you view as the most likely destinations for Rodgers at this moment?
Before I get to that, I just want to give you one final Myles Garrett thought. He's not readily available today. I want to be very clear because I don't want somebody a month from now, if the Browns all of a sudden change their mind, they're having draft meetings, they go to Indy, somebody makes an offer, they change. That could happen. But today, he's not readily available. He might be a month from now. I don't think so, but he might be. He might be before the draft. I don't think so, but he might be.
So we'll run this podcast up for a week and then rip it down. So
yeah, exactly.
So no one can hold it against you.
You mentioned Aaron Rodgers having his pick, and that's the whole thing. Yes, he may have his pick, but I don't know that he'll have his pick. He may be able to help influence, obviously, where he goes because he gets to sign off on that. But I go back to when Green Bay was looking to deal him 2 years ago. How many teams at that time were interested in Aaron Rodgers 2 years ago, Pat?
Good question.
I think it was two. I think it was the Tennessee
Titans.
Raiders.
Oh, Titans. Okay.
I think it was the Tennessee Titans and the Jets. That's how I remember it. Now, maybe the Raiders were. I don't recall that being the case. My point is there was a limited, however many it was 2 years ago. It was a limited market 2 years ago. In the 2 years that have transpired since then and now, do you think the market for Aaron Rodgers has expanded or done the opposite?
Yeah, I think it would have contracted or shrunk.
I'd agree. And so I know that Aaron Rodgers is still an unbelievably gifted passer, but I don't think the market has expanded from when he was last essentially on the market. Now, this time, maybe he would be a free agent and a team wouldn't have to surrender compensation, which might essentially get us back to where we were a couple of years ago. So my point is, I just don't see teams right now in their pre-free agent draft meetings going, okay, let's get ready, guys. Aaron Rodgers is going to be a free agent. Let's get ready to roll out the red carpet and do everything we can to get him in. I don't see that. Do I see a team saying that's an interesting guy who's talented and has had a prolific career? He might be able to help us. Yeah, I think that those conversations go on and occur. Do I think he's priority 1A on any team? I don't know that yet. And we're in an off season where it's not exactly a decorated free agent quarterback class. Not that there's ever a decorated free agent quarterback class because teams aren't in the market of letting great quarterbacks get the market. So, if you're looking to salvage your franchise with a free agent quarterback, you're probably not going to be successful. So, again, I think there'll be a team that looks at the draft and says, we're not going to be able to get one of these guys that we like. And there may be a team that looks at it and says, Sam Darnold is too pricey for us, or we're not going to be able to get him. And they say, you know what? Aaron Rodgers for our roster might be the best we can do right now. Now, how many teams are there where they would be interested in him and he would be interested in them? Both?
Right.
maybe a couple, maybe. And it's fluid because it still could change. I'm
You have to
sure
think
he'd prefer to be on. I'm sure he'd prefer to be on the West Coast. I'm sure he would prefer that.
You'd have to think he would also, along with all of that, would have to be, in order to expand that market to an attractive level for himself, would have to be willing to take the kind of contract he's never accepted before, right? Most likely.
And so when that happens, and a team says, "Hey,
Yeah.
Aaron, are you willing to play for us for X?" How does he feel about that? Is he good with that, or is he not good with that? Again, as is the case on a lot of these things, Pat, there are no simple answers. There's not a simple answer on Myles Garrett. There's not a simple answer on Aaron Rodgers. There's not going to be a simple answer on anybody you ask me about today. There are layers to all of these situations, and the layers begin to get peeled back in the days of the combine and leading up to the start of the league year. And certain events impact how those layers are peeled and make it such that things happen. But again, there's context to these conversations. So we're going to try to offer some of that today to enlighten the listeners so that hopefully they can be a little bit more educated about it, I guess.
Right. And again, it's only February 13th. So if you're listening to this on February 20th, much may have shifted. Let's try you out on another big name, though, Adam. And you were the one who reported that the Giants are hiring Chad Hall, the former Jaguars and Bills receivers coach.
I didn't realize that breaking the Chad Hall news was going to be such a talker in the tri-state New York area.
Hey, if you think you've ever played a game of connect the dots, this is the biggest one there is in New York, New Jersey. Everybody in this market is trying to cling to some level of hope or intrigue in relation to where the Giants are going to be headed. And not just the hiring of Chad Hall, the brother-in-law of Matthew Stafford, Adam, but also the fact that, Matthew Stafford is I think by cap hit, 15th highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Does he want more than that? Are he and the Rams committed to working something out, or is his future elsewhere? His wife said on her podcast recently, we'll see where things go, kind of left it open-ended. Do you think the Rams and Stafford are committed to working something out in Los Angeles, or is the smoke real that the Rams and Stafford eventually, potentially, could end up separating via trade?
Well, I think both could be true. I think they're committed to trying to work something out, but it doesn't mean that they actually will work something out. And that's where Giant fans and people around the tri-state New York area are getting curious and interested, because if they don't get it worked out, then obviously the Giants become an option. But I can tell you, I think as we tape this, I think the Rams have sensed and believed that they think that they can get it worked out. Doesn't mean they will. But if they can, then all this talk about Chad Hall and Matthew Stafford in New York doesn't mean anything. If they don't get it worked out, well, then we've got something to talk about leading into the combine and the start of the league new year. And I would think that we'd have an answer to that sooner rather than later, because the Rams have to get clarity, because they have to know, okay, are we getting a deal done with Matthew Stafford? And if not, then what are we doing about this particular situation? But I think their first priority, their interest is in re-signing Matthew. And I think Matthew would like to be back in LA, but the Rams have a price, Matthew has a price, and can they meet in a common ground and work it out or not? If they can, end of conversation. If they can't, a lot more to talk about.
If it gets to the point where, so the priority for the Rams and for Stafford is to get something done, as you just said, if it got to the point where he was available or the Rams were facilitating offers, Adam, do you personally think it would make sense for the Giants to give up assets and pay Matt Stafford a bigger contract given where they are? Or do you sense that?
I do. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do. Now, we'd have to ask the Giants what they feel. It doesn't matter what I think, because this is a quarterback league, and I still believe that Matthew Stafford is a top quarterback, and Matthew Stafford will be an upgrade over any quarterback they've had recently. So if you could upgrade that position, then why not? Now, I saw people floating like the third overall. Like that's not that. Let me be very clear. That pick is not in the conversation if Matthew Stafford and the Rams can't get a deal worked out, and if Matthew Stafford becomes available and all of a sudden the Giants surface as a contender. If all those things happen, and they could, if all those things happen, there is no way in hell that the Giants are giving up the third overall pick for Matthew Stafford. Zero. Like I saw people debate. I'm like, oh my God, what world are we living in here?
Right. And so, Adam, tell us now, they wouldn't give up that pick because they're using it on.
I can't.
Just kidding.
I'm sworn to secrecy there.
Yeah, right. No, for sure. One other big name before we get to a couple quick questions. Your time is very valuable. Obviously, we hear your phone buzzing and pinging as we talk. T. Higgins, Cincinnati. Are the Bengals going to let him out of there, or are they going to re-sign T. Higgins to keep him paired with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow? In your opinion?
I don't know how that's going to play out, if I'm being honest. I just don't know. My guess is that, I mean, if I'm the Bengals, I might try to franchise the guy at $26 million and then trade him. Now, if T. Higgins is on the open market, he should not get that franchise tag, that second franchise tag, because 26, I believe, is considerably lower than he would get on the open. I think if he becomes a true unrestricted free agent and isn't tagged, I think he's getting $30+ million a year on average. And he played himself into this position, and we'll see where it takes him. We'll see how the Bengals handle it. But the Bengals have all sorts of issues that they're trying to get through right now. Like, can you pay Jamar Chase $40 million a year and Joe Burrow as one of the highest paid quarterbacks of the year, and then somehow find a way to placate and pay Trey Hendrickson, who led the NFL in sacks at a time where Jermaine Pratt, the linebacker, wants a raise? Like,
yeah,
the money only goes so far, not to mention addressing the other needs that you have on your roster. So I don't know how they're going to handle it. I don't know how that's going to play out. If it were me and it were my team, I tag the guy, and then I would sell him, look to trade him to the highest bidder if that were possible. But they made, it's not. I don't know if the Bengals have ever tagged somebody and then traded. I don't remember them doing that. They didn't do it with Jesse Bates. They let Jesse Bates walk out the door. So I don't know that they're going to do that with T.
No, that is a really interesting situation. It's a great breakdown of it too. It's just, it's usually in the NFL bad policy to get rid of good players. Obviously there's all this context and detail for all these situations that make them different. But then again, like you said, when you already have that star receiver and you have all these other needs and you have all these guys you need to pay and you need to build that roster and you feel like you're in a championship window if you do it properly, it does complicate things for the Bengals. That is a fascinating one. Adam, turning back to the Giants really quickly, wanted to ask you about something as the coaching carousel was spinning at the end of the year and Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll were seemingly on the hot seat, but then you reported that it was leaning that they were going to retain their jobs into year 4, which is exactly what happened. You said on air on ESPN that John Mara has railed against the NFL for making sure the league doesn't have this dead money in coaches' salaries, right? So for people who don't understand, these coaches, general managers, they sign, let's say, a 5-year, $30 million a year salary. If they get fired after 3 years, the remaining money of the 2 years is still on the books, even though they are not working there any longer. My question for you, Adam, is when I heard that, I thought that was an interesting point to make in the context of the decision. So what I wanted to ask you is, do you believe that that was a factor, the money remaining, in John Mara and Steve Tisch and the Tisch family retaining Daboll and Schoen for a 4th season?
I don't believe that that's what made their decision. I don't believe it entered into the decision. And again, it's been pointed out by a few people. And by the way, there are a couple of people in the Giants who said, I don't know if that's exactly right. They came back and like, okay, so that's up for debate. It was mentioned to me by a prominent executive. We don't know exactly what the truth is and isn't, and it doesn't really matter. I think the point is there are owners who have pointed out that about a year ago, the NFL had about $800 million in dead coaches' contracts that they were paying out. And there have been people who have spoken out against this, like, hey, we got to be more mindful about these coaches' contracts, i.e., like Jerry Jones letting Mike McCarthy and his staff coach through the end and then making the change at a time when people thought he might have made that change a year ago, and he didn't. So, yeah, I'm not telling you that that's why he did it, but
no, that makes a lot of
again,
sense.
there are people that have said, hey, we can't keep firing coaches. Like right now, the Las Vegas Raiders are paying 3 general managers and 3 head coaches. It's a lot of money that they're paying off. And so there have been people, fact, that have said, we got to be careful about this, fact. And that's come up, fact, in conversations. Do I think that played into the Giants' decision to keep Brian Daboll? I don't. I think they kept them because they believe in them. They've had a lot of instability, a lot of change, and they feel like they deserved a chance to get another year and to get a quarterback and to turn it around and try to see that they are the people that the Giants thought they were when they hired them.
And to be fair to John, I did ask him about this topic after he made the decision to retain them, and his answer was that has never been a factor in any decision we've made on a coach and general manager. Yeah. So that is what John said on the record. But to your point, John, Jerry Jones, some of these owners, especially the ones who are standard bearers, work on the management council and are often driving the conversations and viewed as part of the conscience of the league, they do have to practice what they preach on big topics as well. That is also important when they're speaking up in those meetings. So that was very interesting, though. Obviously, you're always bringing great insight, great context to these conversations. Last one, Adam. How thrilled are you having Wink Martindale out there in Ann Arbor? He and Sharon Moore, the way they finished the season, the way that they held Ohio State to 10 points, beating the Buckeyes head-to-head. We talked about this hire a year ago when you were here on Talking Ball. What are the early returns on having Wink attacking opposing QBs?
Well, it sounded like Wink had some wanderlust at the end of the year. He was interviewing for some defensive coordinator jobs, and none of them worked out the way that I think maybe he had hoped. And so he's back in Ann Arbor. And listen, I'm always rooting for Wink there. I'm always rooting for Michigan there. And it's a case where, to me, Michigan is going to be an improved team this year. That was his first year back at college in a while, and I'm looking for him to show continue great things and to lead that program in the right direction. So we'll be rooting for him this upcoming season for sure.
Awesome. He is the one and only Adam Schefter. And again, Adam, please remind our viewers and listeners about the importance of raising awareness for early screening for type 1 diabetes and where they can do that.
Yeah, again, let me just read it to you. The actual address is screenfortype1.com. Talk to your doctor about type 1 diabetes. Tell them you want to be screened. Go to screenfortype1.com. My wife is a type 1 diabetic. I see what it's like for her to deal with this condition, and I think it's really important for people to have information in advance so that they're not blindsided. They're not caught by surprise. We know the power of information, and there's no reason for people not to have that information, to talk to their doctor about being screened. Go to screenfortype1.com.
Screenfortype1.com. And reminder, everybody, this interview was recorded on Thursday, February 13th, midday. So as of Friday morning, anything goes. Adam.
Exactly. What I say no longer goes, Pat. It's subject to change, and we'll have to see how it plays out. But look, that's the league, right? It's just a wild, crazy, fluid league, and what you may say or think one day may be entirely different the next day. I always tell people, I reserve the right to change my opinion.
No doubt, and you deserve it. The best in the biz, ESPN senior NFL insider Adam Schefter. Thanks for coming on Talking Ball with Pat Leonard.
Hey, Pat, thank you for having me, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak out on behalf of Type 1.
That was the one and only Adam Schefter, ESPN senior NFL insider, here on Talking Ball with Pat Leonard on the Believe Network and on my YouTube channel, PL on NFL. Go subscribe, rate, and review. Get in on the action with Talking Ball Live, our live chats once to twice a week, twice during the season, and even post-game after Giants games from MetLife Stadium or wherever the Giants are on the road, where I bring inside information, analysis, guests, and opinions straight to you, coming out of the Giants locker room with my sources in the NFL and my connections with sources around the league, from reporters agents, executives to players, and on we go. We are brought to you here by MyBookie, Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink, Estate 98 Coffee, and Sal Loretta for Men. Sal Loretta is luxury menswear and tailoring in Bergen County, New Jersey, Midland Park. Go there. Tell them Pat sent you. Also drink Estate 98. Estate 98 is an all-natural specialty coffee. Takes only 10 seconds to make a quick iced or hot. Also great for espresso martinis as a mixer. Go to the website estate98.com/talkingball and get an exclusive 80% off order on that offer. You go get there, that deal on estate98.com. Also brought to you by Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink, natural extract loaded with anti-inflammatory, immune-boosting antioxidants, and heart-healthy compounds. You can pour it into your coffee. That's what I do, or any drink. Known to lower cholesterol, reduce inflammation, and improve immune and heart health with its beta-glucans and antioxidants. So you're going to want to go to boomchaga.com today. Use that promo code on your screen, TalkingBall25, or access it through the QR code that you see before you, and you'll get 25% off your first order on the subscribe and save option. So go to boomchaga.com today. Start feeling the difference. And last but not least, mybookie.ag. Go to mybookie. Use that promo code PATSPICKS, and you'll get 50% match on your first deposit of $50 or more, all the way up to $1,000, plus a $10 casino chip. Go to MyBookie, and you can win bets like my Super Bowl parlay, Eagles money line and the over. Bang. Saquon Barkley, 25 carries when the over-under was 21.5. Bang. Devontae Smith, anytime touchdown. Bang. And on we go. We rolled through the regular season. We made you money if you tailed us on MyBookie this year. If not, look forward to next season when we will continue to make you some coin. MyBookie.ag. Start betting anything, anytime, anywhere. And remember, March Madness is coming up. NBA, basketball, NHL playoffs, UFC, you name it. MyBookie has got it. Thanks so much for being here for this special episode. Go check out my interview with Amani Toomer, Giants legend, Ring of Honor inductee, who got real about where the Giants are and where they need to go. I asked him about his comments on the Bart and Carlin show on ESPN New York, and he helps us spin forward the Giants conversation about what's wrong and what needs to happen to get Big Blue back on track. See you next time here on Talking Ball with Pat Leonard.